Hi, here I am. I hope you can find me. I noticed just now that I had the last week's when I made the when I reserved the slot for the live stream for this week, I didn't update the date or the time, so I obviously did it at 9:40 last week. So, which was after my live stream. So um the one that I'm hoping that you find was dated April 10th at 9:40. So I'll just sit here for a little bit and see if you find me. Because normally I have Tammy and Kelly waiting with Dawn and Kelly, or Dawn and Vicky not far behind, right? I already messed this up. Do 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 do. It's Friday. No, it's not, Sarah. It's Monday. It's April 17th, not the 10th, which is silly. There you are. Yeah, sorry. I didn't know. I'm like, oh, no, where's my people? They're usually saying hi by now. Well, I messed that up. Um, Good morning. I'm glad you're here. It's a lovely spring snowy day here in Michigan. I'm going to show you this. I'm trying to sew something, but I just made it um I just made it weird. And now I can't find the knot to pull it back out, so maybe I'll just cut it and we'll just leave the little knot in there. I'll show you what I'm sewing. Let me cut the knot out first, or cut the everything off of the knot. Whoop. So this and now where's the needle? Oh God. um this weekend, this Saturday, I was, I just kind of sat on the couch and was like, I think I'm going to sew something today. And I've been, I have UFOs in the sewing world as well as the all the other worlds, but I was like, I want to. I've been watching. I've told you I've been watching some Cal Patch classes. I had signed up for her leggings class with the most recent stitches. I ended up watching that one. I had gotten as far as let's take measurements, and I turned it off because I thought I should take measurements, and I was wearing jeans at the time. And then I'm like, it's going to go away on April 30th, and I should, like, watch it. So I watched it last night and took a lot of notes. Took me a while to find the papers for it. Feel like I've misplaced some paperwork recently, but I found it and uh, took a lot of notes, and I still have it until April 30th. So the idea is to take my measurements, do a little math, and then it was very well explained how to draft out the leggings pattern. Did I say all the things? But I need to get some fabric. And she suggests, a muslin, but not out of muslin. It needs to be a knit fabric. So knit, preferably cotton jersey with some lycra or spandex. So gosh, I work next door to a fabric store and I'm going there today. So perhaps I'll look for some fabric today. I know I bought some jersey. But I don't want leggings that have little faces on them. I don't know. I'll have to see what they have. Maybe something in the sale bin or a remnant. But leggings, yay. That'll be good. That'll be fun. She told us how to make the waist high enough so it doesn't, fall down when you sit down. So that'll be nice. So I watched that yesterday. I was very proud of myself. And while I was watching it, I was sewing this shirt. So I had bought a remnant of, I don't know, it's yarn dyed, which means it's the same on both sides. I suppose it's a cotton. There are words that I don't remember. A remnant of, it's been so long. It's been a few whole days. A remnant of this very drapey fabric. And well, I'm not starting with leggings. I took her, Kelly says starting with leggings is very brave. I agree. I'm not starting with leggings. I took Cal's How to Draft a Boxy Top class, and I drafted a boxy top. And then the next session, or the next time I could, I took her how to hand sew a boxy top. So I hand sewed the boxy top that I had drafted in her other class. So and for that class, every seam was different, so that we tried all the different seams. And I had recently, I don't know why, but I had so she has that class on Creative Bug, which I have a subscription to, and I had rewatched it just a couple weeks ago. I don't remember why I decided to rewatch it. I think I was like, maybe I don't need this Creative Bug subscription. It's not very much, but it's every month, and I haven't been watching them. I was watching them. So I went back and looked, and I'm like, oh, there's Cal's Boxy, and I think I just watched it because yes, I have sewn before. And I've sewn all along, but not necessarily garments, and not self-drafted garments for sure. But I had just watched it recently, so I know, seeing, sewing, common typo or autocorrect. I got the bug to hand sew again, so I'm like, well, I just bought that drapey, I think it's cotton. It's got to be cotton. It's not thick and it doesn't feel like linen. And I also and I'm like, but should I make the same one again? Because it fit me a little weird I wore it to work last Monday. It sits up a little bit at the neck. So I talked to Danielle from Seams, and she said, oh yeah, that needs to be a shallower slope, the shoulder shaping. Now I have weird shoulders. You can see them here. They slope a little bit, and then they go straight across. Whoops, where's my other shoulder? That's not my... Good morning, Tammy. I'm glad you found me. That is where my bra strap is. Let's take, other side, Sarah. If we pop that off, you can see the little bit of slope and then a little bit of straight. I don't need a lot of neck shaping, or not neck shaping, Sarah. Hey, let's have some tea. Shoulder shaping. So I didn't really think about it. I just did what she said when we took the drafting class. I should go back and look at that pattern and see what the slope is. But anyway, I thought maybe I should make something different. And I have another boxy T-top, that's a convertible, another boxy top pattern, because I have Sandra Phillips' The Active Sewing book that I bought from Seams when it came out, because I had just heard of Sandra and I knew about the 100 Acts of Sewing, put 2 and 2, and then she was going to teach for stitches. So put 3 and 3 together and bought the book. And then I looked at the book and I was like, this is a lot of information that I don't understand. So this time, I just set it aside, as one does when you buy a book. You look inside and then you're like, I'll read that someday, and you put it down. I have lots of those. And so I remembered I had it. I picked it back up and I started at the beginning. I'm like, I understand all the words now. I understand what she's saying. So I traced the pattern on Saturday and noticed that there wasn't a lot of shoulder slope. So I thought, well, maybe that'll look better. But a different pre-drafted pattern to try. And I get to choose my own seams. I mean, I can just pick my favorite seam and do that. And I washed and dried the fabric. This is a sewing story today. I washed and dried the fabric as soon as I got it, so it was all set and ready to go. And when I went to fold it in half, I folded it in half, and I think I thought briefly about which way am I supposed to fold it, because it's yarn dyed, same size, it looks the same front and back, and it had been torn. When there's a nice grain, the staff rips it instead of cutting it, and it rips right down the grain. And the selvage looked just like it's one side was black fuzzies and one side was white fuzzies, weaving. but there wasn't a like printed selvage. So I'm like, I don't know which side is which. So I folded it in half and laid the two body pieces out. And well, no, I traced them, laid them out, and cut out the first one. And I'm like, how do people cut things out now? Do they use rotary cutter? I'm using pattern weights on top of the pattern on top of the fabric. And do I use scissors or do I use a rotary cutter? So I use scissors, but when you lift the scissors, everything shifts a little bit. It turned out fine. But I switched to a rotary cutter because I can make a much straighter line with a rotary cutter than with scissors. So I finished the first piece, cutting the first piece, and I held it up and I was like, shit, I meant to have the stripes go that way. And I hadn't paid attention, and they go, in fact, that way, which is, that's what it is now. I didn't have enough fabric to recut it out. And I texted Kirsten, who works at Seams, and she said, oh, you wanted vertical stripes? I'm like, yes. Rotary cutters as much as possible. Okay. Yeah, I think that's, because I used to sew on an old Kenmore, which was my mom's new machine. And so it was the new Kenmore. I've sewn. I know how to sew. I just haven't done focused garment construction. And that's what I'm very excited about now. So I'm excited to be learning that. And I took a dress drafting class, not drafting. I took a dress machine sewing knits class from Jennifer Stern and got the dress almost done. I hadn't hemmed it or done the cuffs, but it didn't matter because it was a knit, so I just wore it to work. But the V isn't as deep as I would like. It's it's pretty shallow and it's a little odd looking. So I want to bring it down more like this, which I can do. But I have to take off my perfectly executed neckband, and then I can just cut the fabric, the front fabric down, and then I hope I have enough fabric for the new neckband, which I hope goes on as perfectly. It took like 3 tries to make it perfect, but I'm so proud of it, and now I have to take it off. But yeah, it's just awkwardly not very low, the V. So I hand sewed the top, and I machine sewed the dress recently, and I'm proud of myself. So now I'm doing, Sonya's Sonia Phillips, not Sandra. I don't know what I said. Top. She has a top, a shirt, which has set-in sleeves, skirt and trousers included in the book. There's a pocket envelope in the back with the pattern in there. And it took me a minute to realize the paper is printed on both sides, and then things are overlapped. Like the one top piece went that way and the other top piece went that way, and they were overlapped. So you have to look at it. But I couldn't find some of the top pieces until I learned to flip everything over. It was like, oh, that's how they do things now. Which was it conserves a lot of paper, and now we trace patterns, I had to learn that too. Yeah, a lot of different, I don't know if there were rotary cutters when I was first sewing, but anyway. So I'm like, okay, my stripes are going to go horizontally. So I cut the second piece off, and then that's all that you need, but then there's optional facing you can cut out as well. And I made and sewed in a bias strip of bias facing, made a little bias tape out of some fabric and sewed it into my other boxy top that I hand sewed. And sorry, just taking a little nap right now. I don't remember hand sewing that part, but I hand sewed that shirt. So I want to do something different. So I thought I'd do the facing. It's thicker and wider. It's wider. So I wanted to cut out this. I had, enough of the fabric, but I didn't have any fold left where I could put the facing down. And I'm like, did I fold the fabric the wrong way? Is that why my stripes? I mean, I would have folded it the other way if I was thinking about the stripes, but so I couldn't. And all this time I'm texting with Kirsten going, I don't know. And so I said, is it okay if I understand that I can, since I don't have any fold left, and I couldn't, even if I folded it, whichever way I folded it, there wouldn't be enough fabric. But I could, draw it all the way out and lay it crossways the two pieces. So I was like, can I do that? This goes the other way. And she's like, well, you can, but if you can do it the same way, the same grain, that would be great. And I'm like, well, I can't. So, so, um, I drew them all out and I cut them out and there they are. I can choose to do something else. I can choose to cut them out of a different fabric, but I don't have anything as lightweight as this, but maybe that doesn't matter. I could always buy some, but I don't need to just buy enough for facing. So then they were all cut out and I'm like, I think I'll just start sewing them. And I wanted to hand sew and I got all the stuff and I was like, what color thread should I use? And I decided I wanted to use a contrast color and let the hand sewing show. And I didn't really have any exciting colors. So I texted Kirsten, do you have any rainbow thread? She's like, no. Don't have any rainbow thread, Sarah. I mean, I think it exists, but they didn't happen to have any. So I looked at my meager collection, and the brightest thing I had was this yellowy green. And I thought, that'll look really pretty on the kind of black and white top. And so I used it, and I basted with a crappy old pink that, breaks because it's so old. Wooden spools. I basted everything first, which is so much nicer. It doesn't take long at all, and it's so much nicer than trying to sew around pins. So I highly recommend basting. And then I hand sewed all the seams. So what I haven't done is the neckline, the arm, the cuff, and the hem. But I sewed all the seams. But you can't see the green. So here's a shoulder, and I wanted the stitches to show, so you can't even see it. So I'm a little sad. I wanted the stitches to show, so I did the one where you sew the seam, and then you fold, and when you apparently things are supposed to be like finished, so there's no raw edges, so I folded each seam allowance under, and then that's the part that you would see. Yeah, you can't even... Holy cow, Sarah. Oh, there you go. You can sort of see it there and there. So, I wanted it to be contrasty, and it is, but not very. So those are lovely and flat and done, and the inside is gorgeous. And when I held the two pieces up, I was like, oh, damn, I should have thought about matching stripes, which wouldn't have really mattered if I had done vertical stripes. But when I held them together, they were magically like 3/4 of an inch from being matched stripes, maybe less than 3/4 of an inch. So I thought about it. I was like, So I took the two pieces back down to my cutting table and I laid them on top of each other with the stripes pinned together. And I cut the two out, like wherever one was longer, I cut it off, and wherever, yeah. So sometimes it was, because basically I shifted one of the pieces down like 3/4 of an inch. So whatever piece was underneath, I cut off the top parts, and whatever piece was on top, I cut off the bottom parts, or vice versa. And I made the two pieces the same size. So guess what? Let's look at this side. So I was able to match the stripes it's close. It's not bad. Thanks, Kelly. I'm having fun. I mean, I decided to have a weekend. So they're not perfect because, I didn't try that hard, but they are not bad. And then the shoulders look really cool because they turned out really nicely matching wise without much to do. But then I noticed that some of my stitches aren't like super tiny, and I noticed that they're already like, I'm going to say pulling, but they're like, you can see they're not super tight. And I thought, well, shoot. So what I'm going to do is take my thread and sew a little series of diagonal lines across the seam, and then sew a series of diagonal lines across the seam the other way, and I'll have little X's across the seam, and that'll help hold it together. I think that'll be fun. That's what I was trying to do when I was starting this. I had put the knot in and started. I'd put the needle down the little tube and the knot's in there, but then I realized I needed to have it under so I could go that way because I'm right-handed. So anyway, I cut that off. So that's my plan, is to make it sturdier because this fabric is really thin. I mean, it just kind of shreds. And then also last night, while watching the end of season 5 of Midsummer Murders, you can see some foldy lines. I tried doing a rolled hem, but that looked crappy. And then I folded and basted a 1/4, fold hem. And it looked not even. So I need to figure out a way I need to draw a line probably. Some of the bits were taller. So anyway, I took that out last night and I'm like, I should go to bed. So there you go. So is that what I wanted to tell you? So there's my top. I haven't tried it on yet. I could, not going to. But it's just going to be a big loose top. I'm excited. Oh, and my boxy top that I did with Cal Patch has sleeves, which turned out to be, fine. But because we were hand sewing and using different seams, it was a little weird where seams crossed. And I'm like, I'm not gonna do different seams there again. But I'm like super proud. Look at my little curve. My little curve lies pretty darn flat. If I can make it lie pretty darn flat. It's just, I did a good job. It has a nice drape. Yeah. So, yeah, it will be great in summer. Thank you. So I'll stop talking about that, I think. I'll probably talk about it some more. So that's that. That's what I did. I'm like, can I get it done by Monday and wear it to work? No, I can't because, especially when I decided to do the little cross stitches on top. I mean, I could have worn it without them and then put them on, but it's all fine. Let's do it. What's it called? Oracle reading. I was thinking intrepid in my head. Let's do an intrepid reading. So we're going to shuffle 3 times. What else did I want to say? Oh, I have a new cat. Did you know that I have a new cat? Like another new cat. Francis Aguamenti moved in on Thursday, a.k.a. Frank, a.k.a. Frankie, a.k.a. Frank the Muscle. And he is Mr. Mustache's bodyguard. Oops. Was that 2 or 3? I'm going to pretend it was 3. I'd rather undershuffle than... No, I'd rather overshuffle. I'll do one more. Same story. It's somebody's pet that was trapped was trapped to recover it. Okay. It's somebody's pet. We know this because it's chipped. And he was like living outside. So somebody was feeding him outside and then trapped him and brought him in and found out he was chipped, and they were trying to contact the owner. They couldn't contact the owner. And long story short, he moved in on Thursday and he's doing really well. He is a black cat with like 4 white hairs right here. Very cute, very sweet, still skittish, but he is trying to love on Mr. Mustache. I've never had 2 animals that liked each other. So they already are tolerating, and like Mr. Frankie comes over and like rubs his head on Mr. Mustache's head, and Mr. Mustache just rolls his eyes and walks away. So I have high hopes. Pretty excited. Oop, we're crooked. We can't breathe when we're crooked. Okay, we are going to take a sip. Okay, and here we go. Let's try not to get lace weight silk today. Ready? The knit along. I had dinner with my cousin Nancy, Easter dinner with my cousin Nancy last Sunday. Well, that's the question, Tammy. Yes, I'm a cat lady. Whether I'm crazy or not is a matter of opinion. And I'm like, okay, I have my cat pack going. I have Mr. Mustache as the mobster, and then Frankie is the bodyguard. So now I need a mall. I need a female. I don't really, but I need a female, and I have to come up with a good name like Lola. Ooh, Lola would be a good name. And you know what? Here's an interesting thing. I have, not on purpose, of all the cats I've had, and I need to make a list and fit like a timeline because I can't remember how many cats I had at one time. I think I was up to 3 at one point. I've never had 2 cats are the same breed or that look the same ever. I've had a tuxedo cat, Asa cat, which is gray with polka dots, silver, um, a short-haired tabby, a long-haired tabby Maine Coonish looking thing, a gray-blue one with long hair. I don't know what that was. I want to say there was another one in there. And then Mr. Mustache is a snowshoe, and Frankie is black. So like, very oddly, I've never had two of the same. So the knit-alongs. I was at my cousin Nancy's house for Easter dinner, and she crochets, and she was in one of the Tony Lipsy's Tunisian crochet classes with me months ago, last year. And she's like, "Can I show you what I'm working on?" And I said, "Yes." So she showed me, she's been working on a mystery crochet along shawl. And the crochet along is over. She's not done yet because she has a life, and it's a huge shawl. And like, it's huge and it's circular. And is it called Make Your Own Mystery or something? I learned about these books that you get to a point and it asks you a question, and depending on how you answer the question, you go read a different part of the book. So each time it can be a different story. And you can see if you live or die at the end or whatever. I read the story by a 7-year-old, I think, maybe he's 8. And he would stop and ask me a question, and his little sister she'd look at me and she'd say something like, "The obvious answer is the right answer," or something like that, or vice versa, and then like look at me very meaningfully. And so I ended up making the right choices and ended up alive at the end of the story with whatever choices I made. But I'm like, I don't know. So that was new to me, a story like that. I know that my son read a very long book that jumped all around. Took him years to read it because he wasn't hurrying through. But I don't think it was questions you answered. I think it just was like a giant footnotes that were like other stories. The point of this being, the mystery crochet along shawl was like that. You would, for each section, you would make a choice and then do that for the, and it's like the mystery at, oh, I have it open. Do I have it open? It's on my iPad, which isn't near me. It's like the mystery at Rosewood Manor. It might be at its Rose something Manor. So there's like, she decided to go to the library instead of the music room. So one of the patterns is supposed to represent books. There's a clock in the middle. There's bats outside. It's cool. And it looks really pretty. She shows some really pretty colors. So I had that in my head, this mystery crochet along. And she used stash. Anyway, so that's what I'm thinking about with the knit along. She didn't necessarily do the clues as they came out. I know that mystery crochet along, I want to say knit along, it sounded very cool. And she sent me the link so I could look up on Ravelry and see what other people's like color choices looked like and what like the music room looked like, things like that. So it's open on my iPad and I haven't gone in there yet because I was busy watching, Draft Your Own Leggings instead, which has a time limit. But I like the fact that there were choices within the mystery along, and I like the fact that she had so much fun. She got a lot of joy from it, and and she's not done. She's just doing it at her own pace. It's already ginormous, and she's on some kind of zigzaggy edge, but she still has like 3 more rows after that, 3 or 4 more rows after that. And of course they take longer because they're round and giant. But anyway, it brings her joy, and you get to make choices. So I'm just throwing that into this card this time. This is a bunch of people who appear to be making the same thing. I'm going to go with it's garter stitch in the round, but I don't really know because of that little seam looking thing. People of all colors or kinds. So it's an inclusive along. And this is a knit along, but it could very well be in anything along, like sew a boxy top along or something like that. The project bag. There we go. So the project bag, it's a drawstring and it has handles, and it doesn't have one of those goofy holes, at least not that I can see, that you put the yarn through and then you're stuck until you finish the project. I don't know. I've always been a little skeptical of those. So the project bag holds your project while you're working on it. Very important if you have cats who like to eat your, who like to play with long stringy things like Mr. Mustache does. So then I learned to, well, I relearned because I had another cat that would steal yarn all the time. And that's when I learned about always have bags that zip or snap shut. So this one would be cat proofed. Not with the yarn ball outside, that would have to also be inside, but the project bag needs to be big enough to hold the project, right? So in the beginning, you know, like of a mystery along and you don't know how much yarn you're going to use, you might just have the beginnings in there, but then you need to get a bigger project bag as you go. That's what's on my mind right now with that. So it's something that brings joy and that you can make choices about. So that sounds like you're in control of something. And this is, you know, it's going to grow and you need to contain it in a good way. You know, project bag, I want to say we've had it before, but not very often. I know we've had it before because I have a friend who's been watching my live streams, like she found them late in life, late in their life, in the live streams life. And she's been watching them and she sent me a question about the project bag. So I know that it's been in one other one, but I don't think, maybe just the one. Her question was, why is the ball on the outside of the bag and the project on the inside of the bag? And I don't have an answer to that. It's a good observation. Card number 3, the swatch. You know, we must have had the swatch before. But and look, we have pretty colors. The swatch, that's not a big enough swatch, FYI. It's a stockinette stitch swatch, although it could be very tight ribbing. You know, it's not big enough because it's just about 4x4 and it should be bigger than that to get an accurate 4-inch measurement in both directions. So we usually do a swatch at the beginning of a project to make sure that the yarn, our stitches are good shuffle. I know, thanks. Maybe I did an extra one. So maybe we should do 4. Remind me of that next week. This is how you either make sure that you're following the intention of the designer so that the thing that you make is the same size as, it is exciting that it's a fresh shuffle. So the thing that you're making is as intended by the designer. So it's going to turn out to be the same size, same drapiness, shall we say. So this influences, but if you liked your fabric and you didn't have the right gauge, the gauge suggested by the designer, then you could make a choice to recalculate the numbers to be your own, to fit the gauge that you have, but still make the thing. So that can influence your choices, which, I don't know, I'm going circularly. For this one, I'm going with, it's a community thing that brings you joy, but you get to go at your own pace. That was out of order. It's a community thing, but you get to go at your own pace, and it brings you joy. And you have some independence within that. There you go. The other thing about the project bag is it could be a plastic grocery bag, right? What do they call them? T-shirt bags or something? Tea bags? I don't know. There's a weird word for them. But this is obviously a very nice, sturdy, with lots of stuff going on. a drawstring and some nice handles, nice sturdy handles and a nice sturdy bottom so it stands up. I'm guessing it's not a flat bag, it's a circular or something. So we have either been given or gotten or made, maybe we made it, a nice project bag with which to carry around the thing that we're making. And it's interesting that the swatch is at the end, isn't it? Maybe the community along that we have some independence within that brings us joy sparks the idea for another decision, another idea. So we have a community project that allows us some independence that brings us joy, and that brings us joy. We have our thing that we use to hold it all together. So that could be I don't know. I'm thinking it could be like a scheduling system. It could be a group of people who hold you accountable. I'm really doing weird stuff today. And then I think we're like thinking about the next thing, that we're always thinking about the next thing. But I think that this project that was provided for us and we're able to be independent within it has sparked some ideas for future projects. So it has not just been a community project that allows independence and come on, brings you joy. Are you coming up? No. But it also is inspirational. And this is just, along the way, you got to put all the stuff somewhere. That's what I'm going with. It's not super linear. Excuse me. I have to move this screen so I can read what you said. Gather knitting group, put supplies in a bag and swatch, then go. So you're seeing it as a linear thing. I'm seeing it as not a linear thing, but I like that idea too. Okay, it can go from either direction. Mr. Mustache says, happy Monday. Whoops. Hello, happy Monday. He's very, he'll do whatever. That's why he needs a bodyguard who is nowhere to be seen. You done? No? Okay. Thank you. I can't find the mouse. Here's the mouse. Oh, I don't need the mouse. Happy Monday. I think it is a good collection of cards. That's a lot to think about there. Could be interpreted a lot of different ways. Notice I realized I didn't go to the, don't eat that. I didn't go to the, let's see what it says about the project bag. The suggested interpretations. 17. Change, travel. I like how it's like not anything. He's Dash. Tammy says, hey. Change, travel, a shake-up in routine. Wow, I don't get that. A transition, migration, transformation. I don't go there. Okay. All right. Thanks for being here. I love you all. Have a great week. I'm going to, drive through this tiny bit of snow and go to work and look for, what was I going to look for? Oh, muslin-y, cheap cotton jersey with lycra or spandex for my leggings. I'll try to report back about the leggings. Hopefully, within the next year. Thanks for being here. Oh, look, I can go like this.